Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 9th, 2023. Hopefully this episode finds you well in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I feel like my mental health is a lot better today. I don't know. Sometimes it's just a matter of timing. You know, you just kind of get further and further away from a thing or event, a moment, what have you. And you're just a little cleaner. You're just a little better. I don't know. It's hard to describe. But yeah, overall today went well. Just, another working day, on the job. But yeah, no complaints. Nothing flashy, nothing crazy happened, of course. But, it's all good. I'm trying to see here. Yeah, there's really nothing personal to report. There's no foods that I've been really eating or trying. I wish, by all means, like send me some lines. Tell me some tasty treats that I should maybe try to find and get into. I would love that. Let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and do my my startup because we have a lot of news. I really overbooked the docket today, and I'm gonna have to try to make magic to condense this. I hope so. Mea culpa in advance if I don't. Bear with me. But yeah, let me go ahead and do my thing. Ooh. Sorry, y'all. Had to double dip the chip. Okay. Let me start on, some news that I forgot to cover yesterday. From the Columbus Dispatch. Ohio voters pass Issue 1 abortion amendment. We aren't as red as Republicans think. I disagree with some of that, at least the latter part. But overall, I'm very excited. I'm very happy. This was super fucking great news that I forgot to cover last night. I know I did talk about the elections, how I went and voted, a bit disenchanted. I will say, though, I was actually really glad to see my friends still do the thing where they make the post like, yeah, I voted, that shit's always cool. That shit always actually makes me feel good. I know that some people can be like, oh, that's corny, that's cliche, whatever. But it's just a reminder, like, you're not the only one who thinks and cares about this shit. I don't know. Like, I know we can all get really frustrated and really upset with how things are going, especially when, just talking as like an Ohioan's perspective, someone who is like maybe a little bit more of a liberal or left, mindset, it can just feel like you're walking in a tar pit where it's just like, you see that like things should not be going this way and we should like be moving differently, but yet your fucking politicians just say and do otherwise. And it's just so fucking frustrating. And not to mention too, getting to read some of this article, which I'm really just going to be paraphrasing. Some of our, our leadership just took the ball and ran with it to try to stop the people from getting what they wanted. Like when we were talking about abortion, when we were talking about the legalization of marijuana, like they went out of their way to fight and stop us from getting this shit. And now here we are. So, it's, yeah, with the abortion shit, that's enshrined. That's good. From the weed thing, overall, I'm thinking it's good just by the margins of how both won out. I'm assuming we're clear, but I know that Republicans still have a chance to kind of funk around with the issue 2, the marijuana thing. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. I think, though, that would be shooting themselves in the foot and making it worse. Just because then it's like you're inciting the people again to go against you. So I don't know. But let me go ahead and read this little highlighted part right here. As polls predicted they would, Ohioans enshrined abortion and other reproductive rights into the state constitution and approved a measure that will allow those 21 and older to buy, possess, and grow cannabis. So fucking hell yeah. Let's just shout it out for that. Woo! Also, I did mention that in my notes on the last episode. Just a reminder to check the notes sometimes. Most times I'm just saying something cute or it's kind of almost blank. But, just check it out sometimes. Sometimes I put my corrections there, a thing I forgot, whatever. So, be on the lookout. The next is from The Hill. Winners and losers from the third Republican debate. Now, y'all know me. I am a fucking sicko. I've gone full freak mode this year. And I've watched and ingested more Republican content than I have in my entire life this year. I'm different now. No, I'm changed. Some might say deranged. No, it's just, it's funny to me now. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's horrendous and grotesque. Some of the shit these motherfuckers talk about with like their chests so up and proud. Just baying for the blood of innocent people. They don't really care. Like, it doesn't matter. It's worlds away, and like whatever. That's what the people want to hear. That's what the people are gonna give them. But yeah, I just want to do a little bit of a rundown. Obviously, if you really want the details, you can go find them, of course, for sure. But yeah, this took place in Miami, and also it was run by NBC. This was the first one that Fox didn't have their grimy little hands all over. Though with NBC, they were almost trying to like fake the funk, I feel, and like try to act like they were like establishing order, like they were trying to talk to the crowd, and they're like, hey, don't clap, don't react, just be real chill, let the people say their bits, and then to the candidates, they're like, hey, don't talk over each other. That makes it harder for the listeners at home, the people to hear you. Like, we're gonna give you guys all your time, and we'll give you an appropriate chance to give rebuttals when necessary, but we also might like cut your time, which they really didn't do. Like, they just kind of were talking tough, and of course the crowd was vibing. They're like, oh shit, oh yeah, he's saying this shit, we love that, and they had to do a little react. But overall, it was pretty tame affair. But man, they were definitely zip-zopping on each other. But let's get into it. I've already spent like way too long on this shit. Fuck me. Only 5 candidates qualified for the clash. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley, which it's definitely a different vibe that they add this credential here, because it does come into effect. Like, people are talking about that more, as it's like she's almost like rising in stock in a way. But granted, I gotta say, winners and losers, really, this is just a fucking crew of losers. No one's really winning here, because at the end of the day, Donald Trump was still in Miami doing a rally, which I gotta say, I tuned in like 5-10 minutes of that shit. Boring, done. We've done it before. I wasn't hearing anything new. No one's talked about it today. So I'm assuming he kind of flopped, but at the same time, he's still, 56 fucking percent or something like that. Like, he's still the candidate with the fucking bullet. But anyway, let me keep naming him. Senator Tim Scott, and then former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy. So let me just kind of do, they say that Nikki won, and I kind of agree. I think she's really been kind of growing in stock. People have really been kind of looking to her more than DeSantis, even though DeSantis is still leading. He still has like double digits, whereas I think she's like at 8%. But that being said, man, like, it's just they keep coming for Ron in the funniest fucking ways. They've been fucking memeing on his fucking boots. He's been coming in with like heeled kind of boots, and people are like hyper analyzing it, and I love it, because it's like, oh, dude, you're short king. We know, dude. We know you're not 6 foot. As a fellow 5'11" man, I understand, good sir. I get you, bro. It's fine. It's all right. You can own it. But, people are like, he's no Lyndon B. Johnson, if you know what I mean. And, he's trying to fix that. He's been, working on his Ozempic body. I feel like he's now at that point where he's not too skinny, not too fat. So that's good. But he still has like a turtle bod. So I don't know. He's still looking a little meatball Ron. But he just couldn't catch a break in that regard. Vivek hit him with a nice little bar, like talking about, he said this like vague thing of like, Dick Cheney's and like 3-inch heels. And he went to like further emphasize that he was not talking about Nikki Haley. He's like, and there's 2 of them, because Nikki Haley like immediately defended herself, because they've been kind of going back and forth. But like, no, that was a calculated thing. That was like a Vivek win, in my opinion. He was just zipping on everybody. He was talking so much shit. He even said to like NBC, he was like, yo, we shouldn't even be here right now. We should be like on Elon Musk's like spaces right now. We should be in Tucker Carlson's house having this debate. This is a sham, da 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 da. And then NBC was like, okay, anyway, and just moved on to the next point. But yeah, they're saying Nikki won. They say she pulled it out. I do think she handled herself very well. She's definitely like cloaking herself in like the moderate vote. There was a lot of foreign affairs talk, a lot of just like, hey, how would you be handling the Israel-Hamas thing? And they all had like this fucking just like, oh yeah, you should, this is Hamas. Like, what was it? Ron DeSantis is like, I would call up BB and I would tell him to finish the job. And it's like, oh wow, okay, all right, we're playing Mortal Kombat now. All right, Ronnie. You know, it went over well with the crowd. They all ate it up. Fucking fine, whatever, dude. I guess that's what we're doing. We're beating Hamas. That's what we're doing. That's what's happening right now. Well, for sure, we need to do that. Let's give them $14 billion to help out with that. I mean, they need the lethal aid. But let's see here. But Haley more or less defended herself, you know, made her points, did very well. She was like kind of sandwiched literally between Ramaswamy and DeSantis. They were both kind of like taking shots when they could, but she would defend herself very, very aptly. Let's move on to the next person. Ron DeSantis, we talked about him. He licked his lips a lot, smiled really weird, but they were like, he did good. Like, he at least made it from point A to point B. But that's kind of like the going motif here is like, yeah, dude, you're the running second guy, but you're never going to be the first. You're not ever saying anything that's like actually shaking the conversation against Trump. You're just fighting once again with other people who are losing. Let's see, moving on. Donald Trump, like I said, he did his own little rally, kind of boring. Probably doesn't matter. Let's see here. They talk about NBC News and its moderators. Sure, that was a thing. Chris Christie, whatever. He's still here. Like, you know, unlike Doug Burgum, he's still a thing. But I don't think he's going to be a thing for much longer. Like, this man is like the moon to Trump's sun. And, like, he does not live without Trump in the room. You know what I mean? Like, he just cannot thrive. And the saddest thing is if he's in a room with Trump, Trump will just say something funny about Chris Christie and everyone's just going to laugh. And it doesn't matter what the fuck Chris Christie says. So I love that for him because he's also a fucking asshole. I mean, fuck all these people. I'm not a fan of any of them. But let's see here. Now, they say losers. Vivek Ramaswamy. I think this is the ongoing trend, and this is something I've been kind of talking about with a friend, and something I kind of find interesting just looking at, where it's like, I feel like, and hey, if y'all want to go off on me and say, yeah, no way, whatever, but if Vivek Ramaswamy was white, I think he would be killing it right now. They would be looking at this motherfucker like he was Eminem on 8 Mile. Like, you know what I mean? He'd be getting so many props. Even though at the same time, he definitely says shit that is very controversial. But I think he would be actually making movement with the things he says. But because he's not white, he looks very brown. Unlike a Nikki Haley, who is also Indian, of Indian descent. But, like, you know, she's American Indian. We can tell. She might as well be one of us. They like her a lot more. They lap up the shit she says. But she also doesn't say nearly as much spicy shit. Like, she actually has, like, middle-of-the-road takes even, which is, like, I think kind of surprising to me. But at the same time, obviously, that's what you want to do. You want to reach across the aisle. Whereas, like, Vivek is trying to reach across the aisle, but he's, like, trying to, like, talk to, like, fellow conspirators or something like that. So it's splashy, but, like, you can't call Vladimir Zelensky a Nazi and, like, be like, oh, yeah, that's a good move. So I don't really know what he's doing. But at the same time, like, when you heard him, like, try to illustrate the point, he says things that I've heard and even, like, said on the pod where it's like, yo, there are areas of, like, what the Donetsk region, whatever, where we're talking about Ukraine, that are like, yeah, they actually do like Russia. They actually have affinity with Russia. Like, that there's ground to that. But, like, you cannot say that to the point of, like, well, it totally, like, justifies what Vladimir Putin does. So he, like, says this fucking point, and then, like, Nikki Haley, like, just dunks on his ass, like, follows up, like, just great as shit. So, I mean, I think he's still appealing to this, like, debate troll energy thing, and I think he does get actual points with, like, younger people, but I think overall, in the run, it doesn't do him any good, and it just kind of, like, keeps him at the lower bottom, actually. But, I mean, he still is going to keep fighting. He's still, you know, that guy, I guess. So, but yeah, he definitely didn't make any moves forward. That's for sure. But very spicy man. Let's see here. Tim Scott. Timmy. So apparently he shows off his girlfriend at the end of the fucking thing. I thought that was like maybe the most interesting thing that Tim Scott did in his favor. But yet again, he tries to dunk on Nikki Haley too, and she throws it right back at him that, like, he couldn't even, like, actually, like, come up with the fucking strength to say like, hey, this is my actual opinion on abortion, because he didn't want to say something that was too extreme that would get him cooked too early. And now he's kind of like, oh yeah, I still don't have an actual take, which is another thing that I don't like about Tim Scott, is that he has so many fucking bad takes. But then like any of the takes where it's like, oh, well, maybe you have like room to like show like, hey, I actually can be moderate, he just kind of like doesn't do that. He just kind of like says like a party line that you're supposed to say and then just keeps like repeating said thing. And I don't know. What again, I think he's probably now the bottom guy, since there's no like Doug Burgum. It's either him or Chris Christie. But yeah, maybe there's a chance he's having sex. Did we learn that? Okay. I think that's just about everybody. Yeah, we covered it. Sorry about that. Now let's get to the news that, I really should be covering, I feel like. Let's see here. From Al Jazeera. Thousands flee northern Gaza in desperate journey during Israel war. Thousands of Palestinians have left northern Gaza on foot, waving white flags and moving southwards in search of refuge that has become increasingly elusive as Israel pounds the entire enclave with airstrikes. The United Nations said on Wednesday that 15,000 Palestinians had fled northern Gaza the day before, using the main traffic artery Salah al-Din Road. This was 3 times the figure estimated on Monday. The Israeli military gave residents of northern Gaza a 4-hour window to leave on Wednesday, which has now become a motif that I'm going to, hopefully cover in the next little blurb we're about to cover after this. But it's essentially, they're hearing the people, they are hearing the international disdain and anger here of like the relentless ongoing bombardment and savagery here. In response to the shit that happened on October 7th. I feel like you have to say that, or otherwise someone's gonna try to cancel you or fucking something. I don't know. They're like, oh no, you're being unfair here. But no, ever since this, it's like you're essentially just like, okay, we're not gonna do a ceasefire. We hear you, we get it, but like, here's a compromise. How about we take like a 4-hour lunch break? And then, like, we'll get back to the bombardments and the fucking siege that we're doing. How about that? Is that okay with you? Is that fine? Does that work? And it's like, no, dude, it doesn't. That's not okay. But that is more or less what they've allowed in this situation here. And it seems like ongoing, at least for now, that is what we're doing. So once again, not an actual ceasefire. We're not actually stopping. We're just taking a daily 4-hour pause and then resuming. And I don't know if that's going to be at a set time or anything like that. I don't know. But like, that's not enough, yo. Like, that is giving someone enough time to maybe set up and maybe move, but then you're still stuck in a fucking crossfire along the way. Like, what are you doing? But literally, in terms of the situation at hand here in this article, the people were saying, hey, we're going to try to move as a large group. We're going to have our white flags, and we're just going to hope that they don't call us Hamas and blow us up. And that was the situation here. And it's very unfortunate. And you're going in a situation where it's like, well, why are they still in northern Gaza? They've been telling them to move. But yet again, I've said this before, I'll keep saying it. There's nowhere that's safe. Like, you go to the south, you still get fucking bombed. That's still an issue. And they still make the same fucking excuses. They say, oh, well, Hamas was in that group. So, what could we do? But in terms of northern Gaza, Gaza City, I know I said it before in a previous episode, but essentially they've encircled it and they've like cut it in, and then they've also, once again, they've cut Gaza in half. So it's just like the northern half is where they're saying, hey, this is where we're doing all the activity, all the violence, but it's going to be safe in the south. But that's not fucking true. So really people have nowhere to go, and this is where we're at right now. This is, And it's just crazy. It's crazy to me that you don't hear anyone in the West trying to call this what it is, which is it's an ethnic cleansing. It is a fucking genocide in action. Like, we're watching this shit. It's one of those things where it's like throughout all of October into now, like, part of what has bummed me out so fucking much is like, yo, this is something that we are literally seeing happen day by day by day by day by day. And it's like, but the powers that be that can even do or say anything, they just throw their hands up and they say, oh, what can we do? We can't control Israel. It's like, motherfucker, you are their strongest ally. Like, what I'm talking about here, we're talking about the fucking West here. We're talking about the U.S. I know France is mentioned here after they've tried to put the kibosh on pro-Palestinian, rallies, protests, saying that they're anti-Semitic and like they're endorsing terrorism. They're coming here saying, but no, we do care about the Gazans. We do care about the civilians. We do. We promise we do. Please do something. Please just take a little break. I don't know, but that's where we're at with that. Like I said, I know that they're doing the 4-hour daily pauses. There's an article here from the Associated Press. I'll leave that there for you. You can get the details if you want. But yeah, moving from one ethnic cleansing to oh no, we're not there yet. My bad. I'm putting carts before horses. I'm sorry. I wanted to talk about the situation in Syria. Let's get into that. Once again, from the Associated Press. U.S. launches airstrike on site in Syria in response to attacks by Iranian-backed militias. All right. The U.S. carried out an airstrike on a weapons warehouse in eastern Syria used by Iranian-backed militias in retaliation for what has been a growing number of attacks on bases housing U.S. troops in the region for the past several weeks. Let's see. In Wednesday strike, 2 U.S. F-15 fighters dropped multiple bombs on a weapons storage facility near Mesulin in Deir el-Zor that was known to be used by Iran's Revolutionary Guard, U.S. officials said. I really don't have any numbers in terms of like any casualties or anything like that. I don't think like that's really in the article. They do go through all our little like wounded and like critically, injured people, up until this point, since the conflict started, with Israel Hamas on the 7th. But, yeah, I mean, this is a ratcheting up, but I just keep hearing like, we just kind of can't help but keep mentioning the fact that like Iran is involved in this, and we also have to deal with Iran. They're also an ongoing issue here. We have to handle all their proxies, what they're doing and all that, and we just have to make sure that that is contained. That's part of what we're doing here and making sure that this doesn't spread out. I don't know. This shit obviously disturbs me and makes me unhappy. I don't like it. But you know what these fucking, you know what these troops are gonna do, Yeah, I did feel like it was relevant because we did cover, a previous, tit for tat situation. So I wanted to update that here. But yet again, I don't want to get into the weeds too much on that. So there's that for you. This is the other thing I wanted to get to. All right. From the BBC, Sudan conflict. Thousands flee fresh ethnic killings in Darfur. Now, it's been a while since we've talked about the situation in Sudan with the Sudanese army and the RSF. Last I kind of touched on it, they were kind of like really entrenched, the RSF. Things weren't looking good for them. I've said this before, I'll keep saying this again. This is definitely one of the situations where there's no, like, I don't feel like there's any good guy here. I think both parties are doing bad shit. But with the RSF, they have been accused of doing, essentially an ethnic cleansing, and just there's a lot of, trigger warning, but like a lot of killing and raping of non-Arab people in this region, and it's forced thousands of people to flee the region with just the clothes on their backs, whatever they had, and even then you're stuck at the border with RSF troops saying, oh, if you can't pay the money, then you aren't leaving. And it's like, fuck, like what the fuck do you do in that kind of situation, But thousands of people have been forced to flee the Sudanese region of West Darfur amid fears of ethnic cleansing, a medical charity says. Witnesses have accused the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, of targeting and killing non-Arabs, with reports of hundreds of deaths. This comes after the RSF captured the Sudanese army headquarters in West Darfur, capital of El Geneina. We'll go over that. The RSF says it is not involved in what it describes as a tribal conflict. Essentially, they're saying, no, we are not involved, but no one believes that. It has been battling the army for control of the country since April. Let's see. The Médecins Sans Frontières or the MSF, says most of the 7,000 people who have crossed into Chad in the past 3 days are women and children who are fleeing with nothing. So yeah, it's just obviously, a dark update for sure. But I did, it was just one of those things where it's like, man, I know there are conflicts, there are atrocities happening daily, and it's one of those overwhelming things. And I know this is like a really like almost childlike way of like putting the condensing this down, but how I look at it is like it's like when I played Mass Effect, and like there are so many like things that you can choose, and like all the shit is important. Like there's nothing that's not important, even if it seems small to someone or whatever. It's a big deal, but you have to pick. You can only pick so many things in a game run, and like when I go to do these episodes, I always want to find fun things and light things and things that I think people are really, really going to want to hear. But it's like there are so many things that need to be talked about. There are so many things that I miss that I feel fucking terrible about when I, get to the week's end and I go into a new week knowing I'm not going to fucking cover it. So, that is my little albatross that I carry, and I do my best to talk about this shit that I do feel like is important, because like, shit, it'll be history tomorrow and I'm gonna hate myself for like just trying to say, oh, that didn't matter, that wasn't that big, I should talk about Britney Spears today or Taylor Swift. I don't fucking know, you know what I mean? So that is my grand divine balance here. Okay, yeah, we got one more thing to cover, and it is a hell of a lot lighter. In fact, I dare say it's good news. I bring thee good tidings. Actually, to be fair, I started with good news, and I'm ending with good news. So, all right. I'm gonna take my little last break, and then we'll call it a day. How about that? I gotta cook me some food. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're good now. Wait. From the Los Angeles Times, LA Times, SAG-AFTRA committee approves deal with studios to end historic strike. Yay! Yay! We did it! They did it! We're so stoked for them. I'm sorry. I'm so happy for that shit, bro. Yes. Okay. So SAG-AFTRA's negotiating committee has approved a tentative deal with the major studios that would end a nearly 4-month strike, or a 4-month-long strike that has sidelined thousands of workers and hobbled much of Los Angeles's signature entertainment industry. So we love to see it. Obviously, there's a lot of details here, and it looks like I might have lost my highlighted portion. That's very unfortunate. Let's see here. Bear with me. I know there will be more details, but the proposed contract, which also still must be ratified by the union's members, boosts minimum pay for members, increases residual payments for shows streamed online, and bolsters contribution to the union's health and pension plans. It also establishes new rules for the use of artificial intelligence, a major concern for the actors. SAG-AFTRA said it won unprecedented provisions for consent and compensation that will protect members from the threat of AI. Also, I'm not sure if this is like 100% if they actually got this in or not, but I think they get at least a chance to see some of the numbers, like the behind the scene numbers for like the streamers. So like from Netflix, from Peacock, from Hulu, etc. Because they've been very cagey about those things. They hide that kind of shit, that information, because if you are seeing like the view count on a movie, a show, things like that, that can affect your bargaining. That can, because then you're seeing like what your worth is, like how well a thing did. So that's been something that's been kind of very hidden, very cloak and dagger. Only certain people are able to see it, or able to see like certain numbers, not the full detail. And that still might be a thing that is still like kind of behind the curtain. But I think that at least some people get chances to look at that shit. Don't quote me, but I think. But overall, this is like super big money. We love to see it. I know that like where we've left it, the writers that got their due, and we were just waiting on, the actors to get theirs. But then it seemed like there was like a pause. But it seems like, and it was so funny too to hear these, these bigwigs or whatever say, oh, well, we would really like to like get this done so that we could at least have like salvage a season, a televised season. So you guys should really like come to the table and work with us. And it's like, motherfucker, if you actually were going to play real ball here, we wouldn't have to be here. If you would just give people what they were worth, we wouldn't have this conversation. And I was talking with a friend, and it was something that I felt like I really needed to like establish, because like I've been talking about this shit a lot on my socials, or since it's been going on, and like my friend had said like, oh fuck da 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 da, because like the actor or whatever I saw, and they I think they were saying this because the syndrome was like, yeah, fuck these bigwigs, they're making so much money, like why should we even care? But like it is something that I've been breaking down in this fucking podcast time and time again, is that, look, dude, I know that like it can be kind of weird when we're seeing like an athlete, celebrity, whoever, and you're like, well, they're making so much money, they're making more money than God, why do I care? But it's like, no, these motherfuckers aren't just fighting for themselves. They know that they're the upper crust of the upper crust. There are people who are just making their ends meet with acting, and like, you don't get insurance if you don't get enough gigs. Like, these are things that need to be like protected and looked after. The amount of money you're making when you show up, these things are important. The residuals you make on a show, a thing, these are very relevant. Like, if you're just a small change actor guy, like this is a thing where there's not, I have to make like 2 or 3 other jobs happen to keep this thing going that I want to do, my passion, my actual profession. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not about Patrick Dempsey. It's not about whoever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's about the small fries up to the big guys. You know what I mean? You feel me? Capiche? So that is why I'm cheering and clapping for them just as much as I am, any other union. And I know that I think there was like a culinary kind of strike that took place maybe in Vegas or something. I kind of missed that. That went through the weeds, but there you go. Throwing that on the fucking chopping block. Oh man, I did it. I'm sorry. Okay, that's the episode. I know we made it past 30 minutes. I know, long episode. My bad. But yeah, I do have to shield too on top of it. Patreon.com/Isaiah News if you'd like to support the effort. It does mean a lot. That is how I make any kind of like money income off of this podcast, especially since Spotify changed their terms of engagement with me. Hey, it's whatever. No hard feelings. Whatever. It is what it is. Fine. But, yeah, it helps out a lot. But I will say, you do become a newsie. I shout you out at the top of the podcast. Plug your name. Plug a project if you'd like. Let's see here. Free ways to hit me up, though. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. I'm on all the socials if you'd like to find or follow me there. And then please subscribe to the YouTube. Trying to grow that, trying to make that bigger, better. I will say I'm seeing a little bit of numbers sometimes, a little bit of consistency. I like that. I like what I'm seeing. So hopefully you're subscribed. Hopefully you're hitting the thumbs up. We'd love to see that. I mean, hey, if you got to hit the thumbs down, you do what you got to do. I'm happy to see you either way. So, hey. Yeah, positive vibes, positive comments. We love to see that. Give me some reviews. Give me some love on the other feeds or whatever apps you're listening on. But yeah, that's the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.